and rubbed them all over my breasts. It was so soothing.
He needs more, Huck. He needs more.
Yeah, he's a friend indeed.
Just 1 minute ago, shocking news broke from the heart of West Virginia's Appalachian Mountains. Jeff Headlee, the tech genius and founding member of the hit series Mountain Monsters, has finally spoken out, leaving fans in complete disbelief. For years, Jeff was the quiet strength of the Ames team, the man behind the cameras, the maps, and the theories that kept the crew one step ahead of every mysterious creature they chased. But this time, he isn't talking about a Bigfoot sighting or a new cryptid legend. What Jeff revealed is far more personal and far more heartbreaking. Fans who've followed Mountain Monsters from the beginning know Jeff as the voice of reason among chaos, the man who brought logic to the wild tales of the woods. Whether it was the Grassman, the Wampus Beast, or the Mothman, Jeff always kept his composure. But when he stepped forward today with tears in his eyes, everyone knew something was different. His words weren't part of a scripted moment or a TV segment. They came from the heart. In his emotional announcement, Jeff exposed a truth that no one in the Mountain Monsters community saw coming. His revelation has sent shockwaves through the fan base, leaving many wondering what it means for the future of the show and the team that's become like family to millions. The world of Mountain Monsters has always been built on mystery, eerie encounters, unexplained sounds, and the thrill of the unknown. But nothing could have prepared fans for this moment. What Jeff Headlee just revealed might not only change how people see the show, it might change before the fame, before the cameras, and long before Mountain Monsters became a phenomenon. Jeff Headlee was just a man fascinated by the mysteries hidden deep in the Appalachian wilderness. Born and raised in the rugged heart of West Virginia, Jeff grew up surrounded by stories of strange lights, ghostly cries, and creatures that stalked the night. For him, those tales weren't just folklore. They were pieces of a living history passed down through generations. Unlike many who dismissed such stories as superstition, Jeff wanted to understand them. He spent his youth studying local legends, exploring abandoned trails, and collecting information on the strange occurrences people whispered about in the dark corners of small towns. Over time, his curiosity turned into a mission, not just to prove what was real, but to preserve the culture and mystery of Appalachian life. That mission led him to the Appalachian. Investigators of Mysterious Sightings, or AIMS, a small but passionate group of men who shared the same hunger for discovery. Led by John Trapper Tice, the team included seasoned outdoorsmen, expert trackers, and storytellers who knew the woods better than most people knew their own neighborhoods. And right at the center of it all was Jeff, the researcher, the archivist, the man behind the data. While the others set traps, followed footprints, and chased sounds through the forest, Jeff sat behind the computer and the camera, scanning maps, tracking patterns, and documenting every lead. His deep knowledge of the Appalachian region made him the backbone of the team. He wasn't the loudest voice or the boldest hunter, but he was the one everyone relied on when things got serious. When Mountain Monsters premiered in 2013, viewers quickly grew attached to Jeff's calm intelligence and dry humor. While Wild Bill brought energy and Huck brought courage, Jeff brought clarity. Fans saw in him something real, not an actor chasing fame, but a man who genuinely believed in the mission. Every time the team stumbled on something eerie or unexplainable, Jeff's steady voice grounded them. Let's look at the evidence first. But behind that calm, methodical exterior, Jeff carried the emotional weight of what they were doing. The loss of Trapper Tice in 2019 hit him especially hard. Trapper wasn't just a leader, he was family. The two had spent years side by side, poring over footage, studying local reports, and planning each expedition like it was a sacred ritual. When Trapper passed, Jeff quietly stepped into a new role, the keeper of the team's history and the guardian of Trapper's legacy. Many fans noticed a change in Jeff after that. His tone softened, his eyes grew heavier, and his words carried more reflection than excitement. While others spoke of monsters and mysteries, Jeff began speaking of meaning, what their work stood for, what it meant to honor the people and the land that gave them their stories. In the quiet of his research cabin, Jeff continued cataloging old sightings and transcribing interviews with locals. He often said that the real monsters weren't always the ones in the woods. Sometimes they were the doubts, the fears, and the things people tried to forget. And then, just when fans thought they knew everything about Jeff Headlee, he broke his silence. 1 minute ago, almost symbolically, the man who had spent a lifetime uncovering other people's secrets finally decided to reveal one of his own. It wasn't about a new creature, a discovery, or a hidden legend. It was something far more human. Whatever Jeff had been, holding on to for all these years, was about to change the story of mountain monsters forever. How they remember it forever. When Jeff Headlee stepped in front of the camera that evening, there was something different about him. The calm, composed man fans had known for over a decade looked older, heavier, not in body but in spirit. His eyes carried the weight of something he'd kept buried for too long. The cabin behind him was dimly lit, filled with the familiar hum of equipment and the faint smell of coffee that had probably gone cold hours ago. He took a deep breath, looked straight into the lens, and said words no one expected to hear. "I owe all of you the truth. About Trapper. About what we found, and about what we never told anyone." The silence that followed was deafening. For a man like Jeff, logical, measured, and always careful with his words, this was no small statement. Fans who tuned in, expecting another teaser about the next creature hunt, suddenly realized they were witnessing something far more personal. Jeff began to speak about the final days of John Trapper, Tice, the heart and soul of the Ames team. He described how Trapper's health had declined, but how his spirit never broke. Even when he couldn't join the team in the field, he would call Jeff late at night, his voice weak but filled with determination. "Keep it going, Jeff," he'd say. "Don't let the truth die with me." Those words haunted Jeff. He explained that before Trapper passed, the two of them had been working on something the public never knew existed. It wasn't just about tracking monsters. It was about a pattern they had uncovered deep within Appalachian folklore, connections between ancient stories, strange symbols, and hidden locations that seemed too detailed to be coincidence. Jeff revealed that in Trapper's final months, the two had found an old journal believed to belong to one of the first settlers of the region. Inside were descriptions of strange creatures, not myth, but documented accounts, with drawings that matched sightings from modern times. "We thought we were chasing legends," Jeff said softly, "but maybe we were chasing history." For years, Jeff had stayed silent about it out of respect for Trapper. The journal, the notes, and the locations they had discovered were kept locked away, untouched, since the day Trapper died. But recently, Jeff confessed, he began feeling an overwhelming pull to return to those woods. His voice cracked as he continued. "We found something out there. Something Trapper didn't want the world to see until the time was right. I think that time is now." The comment section of his live stream exploded instantly. Thousands of fans flooded the chat, asking questions, expressing disbelief, and sending prayers. Some begged him to show the journal, others wanted proof. But Jeff wasn't chasing attention. He wasn't making a show. His tone was somber, reflective, almost mournful. He explained that what they found wasn't just about creatures. It was about a story that tied the legends of the Appalachian Mountains to something deeper, something ancient and spiritual. "We used to think the woods were haunted by monsters," Jeff said. "But maybe the real mystery was that the land remembers everything, every soul, every fear, every loss." When he finally finished speaking, Jeff removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and said one final thing that would stay with fans forever. "Trapper once told me that every man's truth finds him eventually. I think mine just did." Then the screen went black. Within minutes, Mountain Monsters fans flooded social media. Theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed Jeff had uncovered proof of an undiscovered species. Others believed he was hinting at a hidden government cover-up, and a few thought it was simply his way of honoring Trapper's memory. But no matter what people believed, one thing was certain: Jeff Headlee had just changed everything. The man who always stayed behind the camera had finally stepped into the spotlight, not to expose a creature, but to reveal his soul. After Jeff Headlee's shocking revelation, the mountain monsters community went into chaos. Forums lit up overnight, social media exploded with speculation, and even local news outlets in West Virginia began reporting on the lost journal that Jeff had mentioned. But while the world was busy talking, Jeff and the remaining Ames team were quietly planning something far bigger. A few days after the live stream, Jeff called a private meeting with Wild Bill, Willie, Buck, and Huck. For most of them, it was the first time they'd seen Jeff so determined, or so shaken. "Trapper left us something," he told them. "Something we didn't finish. And it's time we did." He laid the weathered journal on the table. Its cover was cracked, its pages yellowed with age. On the front was a simple carving, a crescent moon and a strange symbol beneath it. Jeff explained that Trapper and he had discovered the book hidden in a boarded-up section of an abandoned cabin deep in Pocahontas County, a place locals called the Forgotten Hollow. The journal had belonged to a settler from the late 1700s, a man who claimed to have witnessed creatures born of the smoke and the trees. According to the writings, the settlers had built their homes over ancient burial lands, places where spiritual energy was said to be strong enough to take form. The journal mentioned strange lights, figures moving between the trees, and a warning: "Disturb the land, and it will remember your name." As Jeff spoke, the room grew silent. Every man there had heard their share of ghost stories and monster legends, but something about this felt different. It wasn't myth anymore. It was history. Within a week, the team decided to return to Forgotten Hollow, the same place where Jeff and Trapper had once camped but never fully explored. As the crew loaded their gear, fans online began piecing together clues, analyzing maps, and trying to guess where they were headed. But Jeff kept the location secret. "Some things," he said, "aren't meant for everyone to find." When they arrived at the site, it was just as Jeff remembered. Thick forest, mist hanging low, and the eerie quiet that seemed to swallow every sound. The cabin still stood, weather-beaten and fragile, its walls leaning like old bones. Inside, Jeff pointed to a loose panel behind the fireplace, the very spot where he and Trapper had once found the journal. As they pried it open again, a cold draft rushed through the room. Willie froze. "You feel that?" he asked. Jeff nodded slowly. "That's the same chill we felt the first time." Behind the panel was a small wooden box. Jeff hesitated before opening it. Inside were several folded sheets of parchment, a rusted compass, and a small glass vial filled with what looked like black ash. On one page, written in fading ink, were the words, "The Watchers still move beneath the roots." The team exchanged uneasy looks. Wild Bill tried to lighten the moment, but even he couldn't shake the tension. Jeff carefully packed the items and said, This is what Trapper wanted us to find." That night, they set up camp near the cabin. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with sounds, branches snapping, faint whispers carried on the wind, and the distant echo of something moving through the brush. Jeff, sitting by the fire, opened the journal once more. He pointed to a passage circled in pencil by Trapper himself. "If the mountain breathes, listen, it's trying to tell you who it remembers." At that moment, a low rumble rolled through the ground, almost like the mountain itself was groaning. The men froze. The cameras caught it, the tremor, the sound, and the look of fear on Jeff's face. It wasn't a creature this time. It was something else, something older. When the team returned to their trucks the next morning, Jeff stood for a long moment at the edge of the clearing, staring back at the cabin. "He was right," he whispered. "The land remembers." The footage from that night would never make it to air, at least not immediately. According to those close to the production, what they captured was too raw, too unexplainable. And for Jeff Headlee, it confirmed what he and Trapper had always suspected, that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only respected. When Jeff Headlee returned from Forgotten Hollow, something in him had changed. The man who once relied on logic and technology to explain the unexplainable now spoke with a different kind of certainty, one that came not from science, but from understanding. What he and the Ames team had experienced in those woods wasn't something that could be measured, recorded, or analyzed. It was something that had to be felt. In the days following their return, Jeff refused interviews. Fans begged for details and networks pushed for footage, but he stayed silent. For nearly 2 weeks, no one heard a word from him, not even the crew. Then, one quiet morning, Jeff posted a short video. His eyes were tired but calm, his voice soft yet steady. "We went back to finish what Trapper started," he began, "and we found our answer. But it wasn't what we expected. It wasn't a creature or a sound or a shadow. It was a reminder." He paused, taking a deep breath. "That place, Forgotten Hollow, it's not haunted by monsters. It's haunted by memories. Every tree, every rock, every piece of that land holds on to something. It remembers the people who lived, who fought, who died there, and it remembers us too." He spoke about the strange tremor that shook the ground that night, about how the forest fell silent afterward, as if acknowledging their presence. "It was like the mountain itself breathed," Jeff said, "and in that moment I realized it wasn't trying to scare us. It was trying to speak to us." According to Jeff, the old parchment they found, the one marked with the words, "The Watchers still move beneath the roots," wasn't a warning. It was a story. A way for the people who came before to remind those who came after that nature isn't separate from us. It's alive, it feels, and when disrespected, it reacts. He looked into the camera and said quietly, "Trapper always believed there was something out there, something worth protecting. I think now I finally understand what he meant." The next part of the video stunned fans. Jeff revealed that he had decided to retire from active investigations. He said he wanted to dedicate his time to preserving Appalachian folklore and documenting the real stories behind the legends. "The monsters we chase," he said, "aren't always in the woods. Sometimes they're the things we carry inside: fear, loss, regret. But if we face them, we can finally let them go." Then, in a move that broke every fan's heart, Jeff held up a small wooden cross. "We buried this near Trapper's favorite spot," he said. And for the first time, it felt like the mountains were at peace again. After the video ended, tributes flooded in from around the world. Fans called it Jeff's farewell message, a final chapter not just for him, but for an era of mountain monsters defined by loyalty, friendship, and the unshakable belief that some mysteries were meant to be respected, not conquered. Weeks later, the Ames team released one final episode, a quiet tribute to both Trapper and Jeff. It wasn't filled with jump scares or high-octane hunts. Instead, it showed them walking through the Appalachian woods at dawn, their voices soft, their laughter bittersweet. At one point, the camera caught Jeff standing alone, looking out over the fog-covered valley. "You listen close enough," he whispered. "You can still hear him, Trapper, laughing, telling us to keep going." That moment went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments, countless tears. Fans said it was the purest moment in the show's history. Because for once, it wasn't about monsters. It was about men. Men who dedicated their lives to chasing the unknown, only to realize that the greatest truth had been right in front of them all along. Jeff Headlee never sought fame. He never wanted to be a star. He just wanted to tell the story of the mountains, their secrets, their spirits, their silence. And in doing so, he became part of that story himself. Today, when fans visit the Appalachian trails or watch reruns of Mountain Monsters, they say the same thing: the mountains remember. And somewhere, maybe just beyond the trees, Jeff Headlee and Trapper Tice are listening, two old friends, still chasing the truth together.